Benji, do you know what today is?
Why, yes, I do. Today is our 50th episode.
Oh, that's right. We're halfway to 100. And in honor of this special occasion, we decided to take a look back to the 2004 romantic comedy 50 First Dates, starring Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore.
We also have balloons and pink Moscato. Let's pink Moscato go.
Oh, you are quite the droll pun queen.
Yes, truly. Clink.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy this 50th episode of On Wednesdays, We Wear Pink. I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink. Welcome back to the Pink Popcast, the pop culture podcast where we talk about film, media,
and everything else.
and the impact that it's leaving or has left on our generation. I am Josiah Rizzo. I am a writer, director, filmmaker.
And I am Benji Jones. I am an actor, a surfer, and someone who likes to say, oh, wahoo, instead of a wahoo.
What?
It'll come back.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I like that you can surprise me.
I like
This is the 50th episode
Yes, Queen.
of our show. Ooh, clink.
We forgot to say we're going to have a balloon countdown to see how many. Every time a balloon falls, we have to take a drink. Every time a balloon falls, a podcast takes a drink.
Nice. All right. So,
Jinx.
Yeah, so this is our 50th episode. Do you want to say anything in commemoration?
Damn.
It's kind of cool that after, a lot of months of prepping and planning, we've made it this far. We're gonna hit about a year in a few months.
Yeah, that's exciting.
And but we still wanted to celebrate because who are we kidding? We like to celebrate, you know?
Exactly.
We like to have a little fun.
Any excuse to have a little Scotty.
Especially right
Love
now.
to have a little Scotty. Scotty in my body.
You're talking about Moscato or Scotty Dome?
Scotty don't.
We're talking about 50 First Dates. This was a film that had you seen this growing up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you forget who you were for a second? Just happened there.
I am actually not sure. My brain was off. I was thinking about the fact that we should clarify that it's 50 first dates, not the 51st date. Because
What?
The symmetry of our 50th episode is 50 first dates, not 50th episode, 50 first dates. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh boy.
It's not 50 and 51. It's 50 and 50.
I didn't say
That's
it was
why
51.
we chose the movie. No, I'm clarifying for
I feel
the
like
people.
if they click the title, they know what we're talking about.
Well, if they're just listening to it play through. Anyways, guys.
So we're talking about 50. That's 50 first dates.
Yes, because they've had the first date 50 times.
Right. So the brief synopsis is that Henry Roth, who is portrayed by Adam Sandler, is a man afraid of commitment up until he meets the beautiful Lucy, played by
Drew Barrymore.
Drew, give me Barrymore of her. We have fun
He's
here.
straight, people.
I think you can tell.
This pink ass got this fucking attitude.
So they hit it off, and Henry thinks he's finally found the girl of his dreams.
Oh.
I want to put a pin in that. We can come back later.
Let's go ahead and go.
Until he discovers that she has short-term memory loss and forgets him the next day.
Amazing.
So this film came out, it was released February 13th, 2004.
2004. So it was released the day before Valentine's Day. Super cute. I would totally watch this on Valentine's Day.
Oh my God, yes. Valentine's Day is the 14th.
Yes.
Wow.
And it was released the same year as our inaugural movie that started the podcast.
Oh, right. I was like, what is so important about 2004?
Yeah, I mean, I
Hey.
think that's another good wrap-up, another little tie-in.
Nice. 2004 was a good year for
And
romantic comedies.
February 14th is all about the pink. So, I mean, just bring it all around in the 50th episode.
That's true. All of that is absolutely true. So the film was written by some guy named George Wing. I don't know.
Great.
It was directed by Peter Segal, who did Tommy Boy, Anger Management, You know, the classics.
Of course.
Like we said, it was starring Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore. I don't know why my laptop decided to separate Barry and Moore. So it's starring Drew, Barry,
Moore,
and Moore. Oh, I was gonna say and Moore. Like it's a trio.
Yeah, no, Drew, Barry, and Moore. Like
it's 3 kids stacked up in a dress, and they go by Drew Barrymore.
That's what it's been this whole time, you guys.
Holy shit! It was just one. Actually, it was triplets when they did ET.
Right.
And then when they started getting older, it was like, holy crap! Only one of us is going to get gigs unless
we form a mega human. That's funny.
I wish I could say that was because I've been drinking. That's just my mind.
Yeah, I've been drinking.
The film is starring, like we said, Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore, insert shtick of the 3 of them. Sean Astin,
also known as Rudy.
Yeah,
Rudy.
Also known as Samwise Gamgee.
Oh yeah, mainly known.
Samwise the Great. Oh,
drink.
It's a drink. That's actually fun.
Fun. Okay.
Alcoholism's fun, y'all.
Let's see. How many drinks will we possibly have to take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Not
8.
enough.
Okay.
Not enough to get drunk unless you're taking gulps. Also starring Rob Schneider and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah. I mean, the whole legion of Happy
Madison,
crew.
the Happy Madison crew. Yeah, because there was that one guy, the one who, the security guard in it. He's been in a few of those Happy Madison films.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the one dude, 10 Second
Tom.
Also.
We can look it up, see if it's him.
We could, but where are we now?
So ratings and reviews, it's currently standing at a 45% critically on the tomato meter.
Who cares?
But it's got an audience score of 65%.
There you go.
It was made on a budget of $75 million, and its box office was $196.3 million.
Yeah, I could use some money like that.
This is back in the day when romantic comedies
were like killing it.
They, people, you liked going to the theaters to feel good,
Exactly.
And you could. And it's actually kind of sad that I don't want to say sad because I do like that Netflix is kind of reviving them, but there used to be a time where people were like, we're still going to shell out some money.
Yeah, to actually go to the theater and see this.
So, I mean, that's impressive. I didn't get to see this movie growing up though because we were kind of like a non-Adam. Adam Sandler was like he was the edgy guy.
I can see that. I mean, we talked about it in the Don't Tell Your Mother episode. That
Oh,
Waterboy, I was absolutely.
yeah.
It was one of the few things I was absolutely banned from seeing by my mom. But but yeah, Adam Sandler was not fully off limits, but
Right.
that movie, and then she was kind of hesitant with other ones. But I mean, we ended up seeing.
You know what I still haven't seen to this day?
What?
Little Nicky.
Oh,
The one where he's like Satan's son.
He's son of Satan. Yeah. That one's actually kind of cute because Satan's his son, but his mom is an angel played by Reese Witherspoon. But
Only got white people in heaven.
exact. No. One of her friends, I think, was a black angel or 2. I don't know. Anyways, the movie was like whatever, but then when we went to heaven and met all the angels, I was like, this is fun, and I liked it.
Oh, I'd be up for watching that. But we're on 51st Dates right now. Don't get distracted, Benji. I know that was
Excuse
me.
me.
What was your impression of it the first time watching it, and then what was your impression of watching it last night?
So I guess I didn't really remember watching it the first time. It didn't stand out to me too crazily. I remember like, oh, that was nice, and I just didn't ever. I don't think I watched it too many times after that. I might have seen it like 2 or 3 times. And then watching it again, I was like, oh wow, that actually was pretty good.
It was really funny.
Yeah, so I was surprised at how good it actually was.
I was, because Adam Sandler's always been a hit or miss. I do want to state that I think he's a great dramatic actor. But his comedies are all, no, have you know Punch Drunk Love?
Weird. No, I haven't seen that.
Punch Drunk Love.
I tried to watch Spanglish, and I got about 10 minutes in, and
Spanglish is a weird one. He's good in it, but I don't remember liking that movie.
Yeah.
Why am I forgetting all of his other dramatic things? Adam Sandler's actually a really good.
I was like, that was my first dramatic role of his to see, and I was just like, oh, now I don't trust you as a dramatic actor.
Wait, is he not good in that?
The movie I didn't like at all, so I just figured any of his dramatic roles would be like that.
I will say I did love The Wedding Singer. That was a good one growing up.
Well, that's not dramatic. That's a
no, but it's not exactly
a calm. It's just a rom.
It's a little in between. There's a little more pathos to his role in that one than there was than there is to like
Ooh,
grown-ups or grown-ups too.
yes. Pathos. Do you want to define that for our audience who doesn't know stories?
Depth.
Okay. Nice and easy for you
You know,
guys.
it's a little bit more than Jack and Jill.
What? Oh, ew, that movie where
See?
he does
That's what I'm saying. He's like
the Norbit thing.
Adam Sandler is like a more definable version of Nicolas Cage, where you're like, what are you? Like, you can be good, but you also can be bad sometimes. Whereas Nicolas Cage is more in his own world.
I, in general, am not the biggest fan of Adam Sandler. I don't think.
I know. I appreciate what he
Yeah.
can do. I think I did just recently watch Anger Management. I thought he was funny in that.
Yeah, like there's a few movies of his that I'm like, that's great, that's a classic, but it's probably like 5. I could probably count on one hand
Right.
how many of his movies I'm like, that was a great movie.
Going into this, I wasn't really expecting much from it.
Cool.
I do love Drew Barrymore. She, one of my favorite films, which we surprisingly haven't talked about on the show yet, but we'll get to it, is
What are you gonna say?
Ever After.
Oh my gosh.
What were you going to
yes.
say? What do you think I was
thought
going
you
to say?
were gonna say Never Been Kissed.
Oh, we haven't talked about that yet.
We haven't.
Why
It's
have
a
you shook
great
your head?
movie, but just the scene where they throw the eggs at her
Oh.
shatters my heart into a million
But see,
pieces.
that was the thing, is I grew up with Drew Barrymore. Like, I watched Ever After a lot, and I watched Never Been Kissed a lot. So for me, she was always kind of like that,
Yeah.
you know.
No, for sure. I saw Never
Gosh
Been
darn it.
No, another one? Ah! Wait, what do we do when
I think we have to take a gulp.
finish your drink?
Disgusting. Didn't you put tape on that?
I did. And
Do you want to
that's
put
my
it?
side.
Do you want to tape it back up?
Yeah.
Let's do that. All right, we fixed that. Guys, this is why we don't do things special all the time.
Special sucks. Okay.
But yeah, so I do like Drew Barrymore. I wasn't expecting much out of the film, and honestly, I was pleasantly surprised. There are some things I want to talk about, but overall, my first impressions was this was a really funny film.
Yeah.
For 2004, like, I there's a thing with comedies where, especially like comedies that other people recommend to you, comedians, it's such a very specific type of like genre.
It is, because not everybody thinks the same things are funny.
No, and there's such there's kind of such a like, I feel like comedy and horror are like two different ends of the spectrum, where it's like you are guaranteed an experience. When you go into a horror film, it's like they're basically saying you're going to be scared, which is why a lot of times people are not that kind to horror films, because it's like if it didn't wasn't a 9 out of 10, then it didn't exceed at all.
It didn't do what it was supposed to.
There's certain films that you don't have as high an expectation of versus a horror film or comedy. You're like,
It sets an expectation.
right. It'd be like going to a bar and buying a drink and not getting drunk. You'd just be like, excuse me, I paid for this.
That happens.
It
And
does.
people get upset.
And you get pissed off, and that's what a comedy is like. It's like,
Yeah.
this is going to give you this sensation, and you're like, it better fucking do that.
Yeah, when I did Dark Harbor, the Queen Mary 2 Halloween.
Oh, so we're on the horror side of things?
No, we're on the drinking side of things. I got 6 drinks and did not get buzzed, and I spent like $60
What?
because the drinks were crazy expensive and there was no alcohol.
I'm going to
in them.
remember that.
Yeah,
You know.
do not ever waste your money. Don't go there. It's all the way in Long Beach. It was like a super dry. It was dumb. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about.
No, but the thing with comedies is you're always kind of like curious, like, okay, this was big back then. Is it still going to hold up? I feel like this was like right before his comedy started to get kind of that type of Adam Sandler lazy, where it was just like,
I'm going to be Adam Sandler.
you know, and here's Kevin James doing Kevin James, who I like. I like Kevin James.
Hopefully we'll never get there where somebody's like, ugh, Benji and Josiah were funny until they just really leaned into being Benji and Josiah.
It's just like, damn, man. Okay.
Ouch.
I know that we said that even about last week's episode with Ryan Murphy. It's
I
just
know.
like,
It's just like, that's why I was like, yeah, apparently that's just a thing that happens, is eventually there is such
well,
a
you
thing
still, you need someone to kind of tell you no, honestly.
I love telling you no.
And what's interesting is, like, you'll notice there's a trend with a lot of Adam Sandler movies recently where they'll go somewhere. And he's even been quoted as saying, we decided to shoot this film in Africa because we wanted it to be a vacation. This film originally, I think, was set in Seattle, and one of them suggested we should do it in like Hawaii because it's not seen very much. It's going to be a fun shoot.
Honestly, but that does add an element of interest to it.
No,
rather
for
than
sure.
Just it being, but also, where in Hawaii were we?
I don't remember. Do you remember?
Where were we?
Oahu.
Oh, wahoo!
I hate you. But yeah, I was surprised at how funny I thought the film was. What happens in it, Benji?
Okay, so
Explain.
here's the thing. So it opens up. We meet a bunch of girls who are talking about their first amazing date with this great guy.
I already
or
call
their
bullshit, but okay.
amazing week with this great guy. I was thinking the exact same thing. And then we find out it's the same date and it's all the same guy. And then we see Adam Sandler is this guy that they're all talking about.
That's when we call bullshit.
Right on there. Right there. So he's a womanizer, blah, blah, blah. He lives in Oahu.
You're going to do that every time?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And he works in an
Aquarium.
ocean aquatic wildlife preserve type place.
That's
basically.
much fancier than what they said, which was literally just aquarium.
Oh, well, he works in an aquarium, apparently, and he has a lot of water animal friends.
You sounded like someone on Tinder trying to make their profile sound more. I work at an exotic animal.
But that would be true. Like, if I didn't know his job and he brought me there and was showing me, like, the walrus that, like, high-fives him and his pet penguin, and he was like, oh, I'm an aquatic wildlife preservationist, I'd be like, yeah, it looks like you are.
Looks like I better take my pants off.
Looks like you. Anyways. So then he's doing his thing, and he goes to a...
Well, because he's also working to, I guess, do a boat trip to Alaska.
Yes, is what his ultimate goal is.
He's going to do a sailing trip to Alaska.
Takes
But
his boat out, and it falls apart because it's a piece of crap, and he needs to fix it up before he can go on his trip.
So he lands on a certain part of an island. I think he lands on Oahu.
Oh, maybe he didn't start out there.
Either way.
Well, because then she comes to his job a few times, so I don't know how she would get there if it wasn't the same island.
The point is...
Anyways, we're drunk. So
No, we're not.
I'm drunk. So
he ends up on a part of the island that he's never been to before and finds himself in a cafe
where he sees this beautiful blonde girl who is making a waffle teepee, and
it's kind of funny, actually.
she's super cute. He doesn't end up talking to her right there. He talks to her the next day when he goes back, and she is making a literal waffle house. And she's trying to figure out how to make the door turn.
50% less dirty than the Waffle Houses in Texas.
And so he takes a toothpick. He's like, hey, can I help you out? Sticks the toothpick in there, gives the door a little hinge so it works. And she's like, oh, and then they meet and they have a great little like talk and meeting, and they like each other.
Well, one of the things they share a commonality over is that he tries to wash like the fish scent off of his hands, and she's like, "Oh no, I actually really like that. My dad and my brother
are fishermen,
and apparently they did what men do and disappear for a little bit, and she would
on their fishing trips, and when they come back, she said I would give them a huge hug for 5 minutes apiece, and that's what they smell like. So that smell, I love that smell."
Can we pause on the fact that men in films are kind of dicks sometimes? They're just like, "Ha." We're going to take our fishing trips and women aren't allowed.
Well, okay. I don't know if you've seen The Deadliest Catch, but you should not bring someone who is not actually...
Are you saying that a woman
I'm saying
can't
that if that's
fish?
not her job, she shouldn't be there. I don't care if you're a guy or a girl. If you're not a fisherman, don't go on
a fisher man.
You're not a fisher person. I don't know why you're coming at me. You should
fun.
not be on that boat. Anyways, that's their job. That's probably how they make income. So they need to go do that and come back. So it's not like a thing where they're just like, we're going to fishing trip. Maybe that is what they were doing. He meets her. They have a great talk over breakfast. They both leave. They come back the next day.
Well, because at that point, she says,
I'll see you tomorrow at breakfast. Like, great to meet you.
Yeah, it's kind of like their second date.
Yeah, he comes back the next day. She's like, who the hell are you? Basically. And
Uh-oh. Shenanigans ensue.
He doesn't know what happened. When he was walking in, actually, 2 of the employees tried to stop him. Oh, that's another drink.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, I need a refill.
This is becoming a thing. These balloons they're dropping like...
This is fun. These balloons are dropping like flies. Yeah, so they were like, oh, no, we have to tell you something. And then she doesn't remember him. He's like, what the hell? And as he's freaking out, she pulls the, I guess, manager. She's one of the owners.
Sue. So...
she pulls him aside and is like, hey, she had an accident. Like, basically her memory resets every
So do you
24
recognize
hours.
who plays Sue?
Yeah, I know her from things, but I can't say?
Her name is
couldn't
Amy Hill, but I know her from one thing, and I actually know her for two things.
Oh, I just saw it.
Which one?
She's Miss Kwan.
She's Miss Kwan in The
Hi.
Cat in the Hat.
Yes.
Apparently, she knew Lucy's mother before her mother passed away. And what we find out is that Drew Barrymore was in an accident. Accident? She was in an accident where she was with her father. They were driving. The father swerved.
To avoid a cow in the road.
To avoid a cow, which, sorry, but fast forward, there's a funny joke where Adam Sandler, when she's like finding out for the first time what happened, she's like, "How was the cow?" And he's like, same as you. Asks every day if it's a cow or not.
Yeah, she's been in an accident. She has brain damage. She doesn't have short-term memory. She remembers all of her long-term memories, so she remembers her family, but she's reliving the same day over and over again.
Yeah,
so
every time she goes to bed.
Personal Groundhog Day.
Remember when I said that I wanted to put a pin in the beginning?
Yeah.
So, something that we find ourselves kind of like, let's just real talk here for a moment. What is the perfect person? Okay? What is the perfect girl or the perfect guy? What does that mean? The girl of your dreams.
Really.
The guy of your dreams.
Really attractive.
Mm-hmm. Is that it?
Oh, and a good person.
I just feel like as a society, we've definitely kind of grown in understanding. I don't know if we understand. Let me phrase this. I don't know if we understand what makes a good relationship work, but we kind of know what makes one not work. And I feel like it's just funny to kind of like watch these films that are based on this, like, I don't know, old school idea of like the perfect girl, the girl of my dreams.
She's the perfect girl in one
And you're just
day.
like, wow, that was
Based on nothing.
based on nothing.
Yeah, okay. I see where you're going with this. It's kind of that same thing of the Disney, like, I met them today and that's the love of my life. And you're like, no, it's not.
And when people say like, oh, it's the perfect girl, because something that's interesting about this film is, as mentioned, he starts off, you see that he's a playboy, and he's been given all these opportunities. He mentions that he doesn't date locals. He only dates people from out of town.
Okay.
The fact that they introduced Drew Barrymore's character is actually really clever when it comes to writing, because she's essentially, if he would have met her at the beginning of the film, then she would have fit perfectly in what he wanted. Someone who he can sleep with, who finds him attractive, and isn't going to remember him. That he can basically wash his hands and be done with. But I mean, he clearly falls for her, and so now it's like the perfect foil, because she could have been
the perfect person, except she's his old perfect person. He basically decides like he has to make her like him every single day. We meet her family, who literally do everything in their power to reset her life every single day. So she goes to bed knowing that she's gonna forget. They go every year. Apparently, they go get a pineapple for the dad's birthday. He brings a pineapple out of the like freezer full of pineapples that they have.
Wow.
Like they repaint. Like she paints his studio every day. From a white wall to like some gorgeous like painting that she does, and then they repaint the wall white so that she can paint it the next day. They have stacks and stacks. They have stacks and stacks of newspapers from that day that she thinks it is, and they bring one out every day to put it on the door so that she thinks it's the same day.
Oh, wow.
So basically, yeah.
Oh, and she gives him presents for his birthday,
and he opens it in a certain way so that he can put it back in, because it's
right.
a VHS tape. Oh, one more.
Oh, man.
It's a VHS tape of The Sixth Sense. So he opens it in a way where it slides out so he can slide it back in, close it, retape it, and it looks like it's the same present she wrapped.
That's a lot of effort.
So basically, yeah. So they go through crazy effort every night after she goes to bed to reset everything so that she's not freaked out every morning.
Did we mention that it's been a year now since her accident?
It's been about a year since her accident.
So they've been doing this for at least 7 to 10 months.
365 days.
What?
Ish. 300. They've done this at least 360 times.
Well, because she was in the hospital for 3 months.
So they've done this at least less than 3 months.
There you go.
I'm not doing that math. How does he meet them the first time? Do you remember?
That's a good question. What does happen? Does he show up at their house?
He freaks her out, and she like drives away, and then he follows her to kind of be like, hey, no, I'm not creepy, I wanted to talk to you.
Right, and then he meets the
runs
family.
into the dad, and the dad is like, hey, leave her alone, I don't know what you're about, but like
I would absolutely be defensive of my daughter.
Yeah, exactly, especially in this kind of situation. He was like, sorry, like I don't want anything, I like her, I like hanging out with her. And he's like, no, don't ever go back to the cafe, like leave her alone. And he's like, okay, well, I agreed never to go back to the cafe. So he decides to park on the side of the road every single day and find a different reason, a different way to make her stop.
Why does
talk to him.
Why does he not like just do the same thing each time?
He doesn't. He has to come up with new things every day.
And this is the part where they're showing this montage, and I was like, how come it's raining one day and not raining the other? And I was like, oh, right, this is not Groundhog Day.
It's not the actual same day. It's the same day for her.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, at one point, he is just having car trouble. His like tires.
Oh my god, this scene's hilarious.
Another point, like,
well, so
I don't know anything, but
we haven't mentioned his friend, his Ula, played
by Rob Schneider.
He's a Hawaiian native played by a Jewish guy. So have fun with that, internet.
Same thing.
So. And his whole shtick is he's always kind of like, I like living vicariously through you because I'm tied down to this old hag, this old fat hag.
Yeah, he's awful to his wife.
Yeah, and his kids are just smiling and filming him the entire time. So, but it's like this foil of he's like, I hate my wife. You get to sleep with all these beautiful women. And Adam's like, yeah, man, that's what I do. You know, I'm a playboy. Look at me, Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler, total playboy.
And so now he's like he enlists him to help him out in one of the many montage schemes
to get her to stop and talk.
Which leads to one of my favorite gags.
Adam Sandler was pretending that Rob Schneider's character was like mugging him and beating him up on the side of the road. So she pulls over, gets out, and
beats his ass.
Pulls out a bat
with a bat.
Chases him clear across like the fields of Hawaii and like beats him in the distance, and he's like, I think you got him, and she's like, no, it's not good enough, like beating him. And then he finally gets up and just runs away, like in the general distance of just like, get away from this crazy bitch.
Sometimes the cheapest humor is still the funniest.
When physical comedy is done right, it's so good. And sometimes like I hate when people like cheese out on physical comedy, you know, like when you do like you
pull your punches, you mean
a Pratt punch or like a slap or something, like a Pratt fall, and you can tell it's fake, it's not funny,
right?
Versus like if somebody does a fake fall and they just hit the ground, you're like, oh my god, that's perfect. So eventually the dad and the brother drive down the road, and they're like, hey, stop it.
Let me show you something.
They're like, come here, let's give you a rundown of basically what happens and what we do. And they show him, and he's like, y'all do this every day? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And they haven't told her either. Obviously, you would assume that with the fact that we explained that they go through great lengths, but they haven't told her. They have not, on any of the days, ever told her. Except for, I guess, when she was in the hospital, like, obviously they went through.
They would probably have to tell her multiple times.
And she just never remembered it. So once they left, they were like, we're just going to reset. And then Adam Sandler sees this, so he wants to try something different.
So he's basically like, this isn't, like, good. Like, he basically, like, kind of gets the dad's respect of talking to him. Like I really like her. I really want to, like, get to know her, because he's like, she does like me when we meet, like most of the time we can get along. And he's like, well, I've noticed that every day that she meets you, when she's painting the garage, she sings the Beach Boys. There's a song that
wouldn't it be nice if we were
that one. She sings that song because that's the song that is her mom and dad's like song for their relationship. So every time she meets him, she sings that song.
Beach Boys
and
is
so
classic.
He's like, so she does like you, and he's like, well, let's try something different. Let's I don't think he actually told the dad first. I think he kind of like decided to make a video.
Yeah, he doesn't tell the dad. He just says, this isn't a way to live. There's got to be something that we can do.
Yeah, and then
shows up the next day.
I don't know. Shows up the next day with the tape, leaves it, I guess, in her room, and she finds it, starts watching it, and then as she's watching it, he's like, they're kind of giving each other looks like, let's just see what happens. And basically, it's a tape that just kind of catches her up on everything.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Lucy, you've missed a lot of stuff this year. Shows her everything that
you don't remember
this
this.
Since October 13th. Then shows her the accident. Then all of the stuff, and she kind of like obviously kind of has a little freak out, and then like after the video's over, like comes to them and is like, okay, so like how many times have I watched this? And they're like, this is the first time. And she's like, okay, so like what's going on? Like, and she actually handles it really well. So they start doing the tape every day
Right.
to catch her up with what's going on, to let her know what's
She starts
going on.
filming him too, so she can actually.
Yeah. She's filming him. She's making notes. Like, they're all kind of working together to like make her progress through. We're seeing their relationship actually progress past the first day now, because now she's every morning getting updated and being like, we're kind of dating. This is where we are right now. And she's like,
well,
okay.
something we also missed too is like the first time she finds out, they go to the I guess the treatment center, and she speaks with the doctor who diagnosed her.
She accidentally finds out first, and then that's when they decide.
Right. And when she finds that out, you know, they basically say it's going to be something that is for the rest of your life.
Yeah, they're like, your condition is stable, but it's not going to change. Like, it's permanent. And that's but then she's like, this is awful. And then we go. And then they're like, well, it could be worse. Have you met 10 Second Tom?
Which, okay, the scene's funny, but I was actually surprised at how sincere it was. Like,
oh, because you thought it was going to be way over the top.
I thought it was going to be like, how, you know, I don't know what I was expecting, but like.
But no, we go meet this guy, and he introduces himself to the five of them.
Right.
Because it's him, her, the dad, the brother,
right.
And then the doctor introduces himself, and he's like, "Oh man, I like your shoes." Like, he's like, "Thanks, I got them from them." And he goes, "Oh, hi, I'm Tom." Introduces himself to them again, and they're just like, "What?" So
but it was like, it was kind of cute. He was like, he wasn't playing it like he obviously you laugh, but
he wasn't hamming it up. He was just genuinely like.
I think it was the genuine that was like, oh,
the genuinity of it. Is that a real word?
So they go on a few dates. Things are kind of progressing for them. He feels entitled to boob access after about
27.
I don't know.
Like
that was a point where I was like, and I mean, okay, so all during this time, it's bringing up a whirlwind of questions. Like I don't want to just leave this to the end, because it's like there's just certain moments in this film where each time he does something, it's kind of like.
Yeah,
is this?
Because like because we have a montage about 5 times that they kiss, and she every time says, "Oh, there's nothing like a first kiss."
Right.
And so it's like, oh wow, like this is the same kiss for you, but he's kissing you over and over again. And then at a certain point, we see him try to make a move on her past just kissing, and she's like, "Whoa, I just met you," or like, "Whoa, I feel like I just met you."
Yeah, well, you know, because I don't know.
Like,
that's
he's done this like 30 times, and she's like, "Yeah, but this is my first time." And she goes, "Oh," he was like, "Okay, but like 30." Or it was like 27 or something by like your first time. So that means we're at like date 12, which is like, obviously that constitutes a little more action. She kind of laughs.
No, he specifically says, I'm entitled to an unlimited boob access. And I was like,
that was not made in 2020.
That was not made in 2020. You, sir, are entitled to jack and shit.
You were entitled to nothing. But basically, I think that night they end up.
They still do it.
Yeah.
Because this is a 2004 movie. And she's like, isn't he charming?
Isn't his persistence and incapacity to take
no for an answer
charming?
From the perfect woman who, if she says no to you, just try again.
Basically, though, they end up hooking up. They end up kind of like their relationship keeps progressing. She starts recording him to kind of give her own memories of
but she's also
on
specifically writing in her own journal.
What happens is they have a night where they basically stay up super, super late so that they can get as much time as they can before she falls asleep and resets.
Oh.
And then they go back to her place. They fall asleep in her bed. She wakes up the next morning. He's like, "Hey, babe." And she's like, "Oh, my gosh," freaks out, hits him with a rugby stick, I believe, or a lacrosse stick.
Right.
And knocks him out. And then they show her the video. And then basically
she overhears a conversation between them where he's like, "I've been going through all this effort." And the dad's like, "What's going to happen whenever you take off for Alaska?" Because this is still supposedly his dream, is to leave for Alaska on this boating trip. And he's like, "I'm not going to do that. I'm spending so much time here trying to, make her fall in love with me each day and like working through all this because I really care about her." And as much as a 2004 man in a film, a romantic comedy can, he's obviously doing everything he can for her. The fact, it wasn't lost on me, the fact that like this entire woman's life is being discussed by these 4 men in the living room without her even being able to be present. But it's like she overhears that like what he's giving up. And she
Yeah.
decides, okay,
So she meets him at work. She finds him at his job, and it's basically like, hey, like, basically I heard you guys talking. Like, I've been reading my notes. Like, I've been making notes every day so that I feel like people aren't telling me my life, that I'm telling me my life.
which I liked. I was like,
Yeah, I was
oh,
like,
hey.
that's cool. That's awesome that you did that. And she's like, basically, I'm reading about you. I can see that I like you a lot, but basically, it's not fair for you to give up your life and your dreams to make me fall in love with you every day. So we need to break up. And he was like, what? No, like, I'm going to wait until you fall asleep and reset, and we're going to be fine.
Can't do that.
That's awful. And she was like, no, like, I'm taking you out of my journal. Like, I'm deleting you from my brain. Like, I don't want to have to worry about I just don't want to have to feel like I'm pulling you back, and like, you need to go do your thing, basically, and you need to respect my choice. And he was like, well,
you're
crap.
looking at that balloon waiting for it to fall, aren't you?
That one behind you is literally hanging on by a thread.
And when it falls, we will drink. And it's sad. So he essentially
it's a whole like emotional thing where basically she's like, I want to read my notes about our time together so you know how I feel about you, and he ends up like typing them into his computer and saving them.
Right.
But and then they end up burning her actual notes. And then they go their separate ways, and he kind of has his life without her, and it sucks. And she has her life where
he goes to sail for Alaska. Now he decides he's going to leave. He can't
got
stay.
his boat fixed up. He's gonna move. He's gonna leave.
The dad visits him right before he sets sail. And I don't know what he mentions exactly, but he mentions like the song. So he mentions that Lucy has now checked herself into the institute, so she doesn't have to be a burden to her father and her brother anymore.
Yep.
And apparently he says something that brings up the song again. And as Adam Sandler is sailing off, he's crying. He's heartbroken that like it's come to this.
Classic Adam Sandler ugly comedic cry with his ugly face.
So
Anyways.
bad. But then it jogs something. It's like, wait, if she remembers that song, because she only would have remembered that song when they would meet each other.
Yeah.
And yet it's still now stuck in her
She's
head.
still singing it. So he's like, she must remember me. Flips his boat around, sails back to the island, goes and runs into her class where she's teaching art at the Institute for
crazy people.
Basically at the hospital where they healed her, and now where they treat people with brain damage.
The treatment
she's
center,
teaching she's teaching art, which is what her job was before.
Yeah.
And he runs in and he's like, Drew Barrymore, whatever your name is.
It's Lucy. We've said it like 100 times.
But he said her full name. I don't know what her last name
was.
Oh,
I don't remember either.
Exactly. So he said Drew Barrymore's character. And she said, yeah. And he goes, do you remember me? And we get this long pause. And we're like, she has to remember him. She remembers him. Like, this is what this pause is for. They have to end up together. And she goes, no. And he's like, what? And it's like super awkward. And then she's like, but come with me. Drags him into this side room, and basically there is hundreds and hundreds of pictures of him painted.
His egghead.
Yeah, painted. There's sculptures. There's everything of him.
His profile.
Yeah.
His full-on
straight
face.
on, his 3/4, like all of it. And they're just, and she's
an
like,
abstract where it's literally an egg head.
Because they made a joke that he has an egg head.
Well, he does.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler's got an eggy head.
Sure.
Crack it open and see what's inside. Comedy.
So she's like, I don't know who you are, but I dream about you pretty much every night. And he's like, whoa. So, because we're kind of at the point where we're like, well, it sucks, but it also is like she's never going to actually remember you. So,
right.
Whatever. And then when we see that, it's like, wow, deep down somewhere in her subconscious, all the time that you guys have spent together falling in love over and over again is sticking, and she does remember you. Some part of her brain remembers you, and that was like, boom, oh my gosh. And then we're like, yes. And then
fast forward
to
she wakes up
and she puts in her tape, and it says, hey Lucy, and then it catches her up.
She's on a boat.
Mother. So she comes up to the
deck,
top deck. What is that called?
Yeah, top deck. Uh-oh.
Does that count?
No, keep going.
It's this balloon pulling it down, and that one. Take a drink.
Uh-oh.
All right. So She comes up to the deck, basically sees Adam Sandler, and is like, hi. And he's like, hey, babe. And then he's telling that
This is your kid.
There's a little girl. And he's like, go say hi to mom. And he's like, this is your daughter. And she's like, oh, my
Bro.
God. And she picks it up and she's like crying because she like has a life. And then he's like, oh. And she's like, oh, and there's granddad over there. And her dad's on the boat. And they're like clearly in Alaska because there's a bunch of ice around them.
Right.
And like, yeah. And it's like
how
adorable.
How annoying is it when your parents repeat stories or repeat jokes to you, and you're just like, yeah, I heard this like,
but
100 times.
For her is fresh. Oh, okay,
bro. My mom repeats some jokes sometimes, but if my mom didn't have the memory or capacity to like remember what she said to me, and she was just like saying the same thing over and over again for the rest of my life, I'd be like, kill me.
Yeah, I really couldn't do that. After about the third day, I'd be like, we need to figure something out.
Yeah, how would that like affect? So we reached the end here. Now let's get into the nitty gritty of how would a relationship like this even work? I mean, it's such a Hollywood thing to present this as being like romantic, but there's a lot of baggage that comes with it.
Like realistically, like, I mean, just imagine if you woke up every day thinking that it was a new day, and then you watch a tape and said, hey, you've been out for the last 4 years. You're married to this guy and you have a kid.
Not today.
Not today.
Jumps off
boat.
Because like,
but it's like, yeah, there's so much about just a relationship, not even the kid.
Yeah, and like maybe in 2004, the idea of having like always being stuck, because there's kind of like a little scene where they throw a party after it's like official that they're dating.
Yeah.
Right before she breaks up with him.
She gets to meet her friends for the first time that she hasn't seen since the accident.
Right.
Because they can't go see her and look different.
Basically. Right. But then you also have kind of a mention where Maya Rudolph, she's in the film. I love her. And she, you know, the kind of the typical thing back then where it was like, oh my God, you have to make her fall in love with you every day. How sweet that is. Oh, this guy won't, you know, whatever stupid man thing this guy's not doing. And it's like, it's funny because like we hold that up to such an ideal. We hold like the beginning blossoming part of a relationship up to such like this pedestal. Pedestal.
We put it on a
pedal stool.
We hold it up to a standard.
We put it on a pedestal, hold that pedestal up to a standard. And it's like, that is but one part.
And that is the most basic part of relationship.
Yeah. What are you going to say?
And what I was saying, for me personally, that would be a nightmare on either end.
You said
because I hate meeting people.
Oh my God.
Not even people that I like, especially people that I find attractive. It is really, really hard for me to like talk to them because I'm so conscious of like what I'm saying and what I'm doing. And am I being interesting? Am I talking enough? Am I talking too much? Like it's too much.
Yeah.
And if I had to do that every day for the rest of my life on either end, whether it's like, oh, I'm married to this person, but I don't really know them and I have to meet them today, or like, this person isn't going to remember me tomorrow and I have to make them like me again. That is tragic. You would
maybe have like, I don't know if there could logically be a way for you to ever have a full day of a full relationship, because half of the day would be I'm being very generous. Yeah, I'm being extremely generous. Half of the day would you be grappling with like earth-shattering, world-altering like truths,
life change. Yeah.
And by the way, you should be happy that the film character is Drew Barrymore, because she's super like, oh man, she takes it in stride. Me, I'd be like.
You mean that? Okay. That personality type of person.
Oh boy.
You would spend the whole day coming to terms with what happened.
And by the time I got better, no one would want to be married to me if I couldn't progress.
You'd be like, okay, so he spent 23 and a half hours processing and we had 30 minutes of talking and then he went to bed and now he doesn't remember and needs another 23 hours.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Do you wonder if like some days it's like, all right, guys, we got to take a vacation from mommy. We're just going to let her hang out in this hole over here.
Honestly, maybe.
She won't remember the abuse.
Put her back in the hole. Put her back in the institute for a week, and we'll go enjoy remembering each other.
Oh God! Hey, Mom, do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember 2 years ago when we went to Cabo? We couldn't get an extra seat, so we just like left you in a corner. No,
well, you couldn't leave her in a corner because she would wake up and freak out that she wasn't like home and in her bed.
Oh my God!
But like,
oh my God! What happens when her dad dies?
Yeah, that's gonna be hard.
Maybe the first day it's hard, but it's easy enough because like, well, dad died yesterday. But like, what do you do when it's
he's
like
been dead for 5 years?
oh,
Well, that's kind of what my thought process was of like, I'm like, it sucks because relationships and the person that you decide to love and marry is like kind of the biggest part of your life.
yeah,
They say that like basically every other relationship is supposed to leave you. So like your parents are supposed to leave you. Your siblings are supposed to leave. Like every relationship in your life is meant to leave at some point. Your
right.
children, they're meant to grow up and leave. Like your friends, you get separate lives, you leave. Your partner, your person that you marry is the one person in your life that's there from the time they meet you to the time you die. That's the one person you're supposed to do life with. And if that's the one person that you do not remember, like that is hard.
That's rough.
That is like, I'm like, and I was thinking like the whole time, I'm like, it's great that he's working so hard, but I'm like, that's not fair. That's not fair that the one person who's supposed to be the main influence in her life is the one person she can literally never remember.
No.
I mean, to a certain extent she does, but like she doesn't. And I'm like, and I was thinking like, okay, but what if it was a situation where she met him, they loved each other, they got married, and then the first year in their marriage, she had that accident, and he has to remind them like, hey, we've been married for 5 years now. And I'm like, that would be great. But wrapping back to the thing of when her dad dies and you would have to keep telling her.
Yeah.
At a certain point, they would be, if they were old, or God forbid, if something happened shortly after that where he dies, and they would have to tell her like, this man that you love
gone
is dead,
been gone
every day.
But I'm just like, like for me, it raised so many ethical issues of just in terms of developing a relationship. Would it be fair to somebody who's always going to be stuck in the honeymoon phase, always going to be stuck in the honeymoon phase?
Yeah.
Now, halfway through the film, they did introduce the plot device of like she's writing in her journal
to
remember him, and she gets to kind of dictate her own thoughts, which I did like. I was like, okay, that's a slight move in the right direction when it comes to her being able to develop who she is, because so much of a relationship, it has nothing to do with the other person.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with how you choose to perceive them, how you choose to be okay with them in the moment.
Yeah.
If you're always stuck in like, ooh, la-di-da mode,
Ooh, I just met them.
you never get to actually progress and learn. It's just always going to be this superfluous like, oh, they're so sweet. They do things.
Yeah.
They buy me flowers. Like, bitch, flowers don't save marriages.
Exactly. Like, you can't say like, no, when I was going through this hard time, they were there for me, or they make me coffee every single morning exactly the way I like it. Like, there is a thing about relationships where over a long time, it's less about that initial like, this is what I think of that person.
Right.
They become that person that you've learned who they are.
You develop a genuine love for their personality.
Love, not just that initial like, oh, they're fun and they're kind of attractive.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, for me personally, all of the people that I've been incredibly attracted to, I do not start out that way. Like, my deepest attractions have been to people that I'm like, initially I'm like, okay, sure, whatever.
Right.
And then like they grow on you. And I feel like a lot of people do that. But it's like, if you were to wake up and see a person that you like, that person that you originally were like, oh no, but eventually through months and months of being the greatest person, the most perfect person for you, you were like, I love them so much, I'm so attracted to them. But every single day you don't get to do that. You get to see the first version of them, and you're like,
well, that's an eggy head.
Adam Sandler, he's not cute.
I'd like to crack that open and put it in pancakes.
Cute.
No, that wasn't cute. That's
why I always start with physical attraction.
I feel like you've seen this scene in a movie before where there's a guy who's like a womanizer, and he has like a shtick that works really well, but then you get to see him do it to multiple different women, and it doesn't become as cute anymore. In a way, it's like, how would this not in some way kind of like become an aspect of that? It's like he essentially gets to use and does the same things over and over again. I'm not saying he consciously is.
No, I get that.
I'm just saying you're just repeating the same aspects of a relationship every day. He's obviously growing in his love for her, or his codependency, whatever it is. But the point is, she's only ever going to respond to him how she is in that day, at least the way this film portrays it. It's not like an actual thing that happens.
Progression of relationship.
So that means he's always talking to her at that point in her relationship, which after a while you're gonna get sick of. Like as much as you love the person, it's like it's easy to wave a 2004 romantic comedy wand at it, but in reality, deep down, human beings want to feel known. Yeah. We want. Oh God, that's it right on the head. We want to feel known, and our partners, our friends, they all are examples of people that we have allowed into our circles because they know us, and we have allowed them to know us.
Yeah.
You know, and the one person, like you said, who's supposed to be like the closest to you doesn't know you.
Yeah, or you don't know them, and you don't feel like they know you because you don't know them.
Not gonna be cute anymore, and some like old school idea of what romance is supposed to be isn't going to hold that up. Like, oh my God, he buys me flowers every day and he makes me a video. Isn't it so sweet? It's like, it is.
But I think they did kind of touch on that a little bit because there was a certain point where he did something and she was like, oh my God, I love that. And he was like, I know. And it was kind of like, okay, so there is kind of that element of if you met somebody that like just clicked with you from day one.
Right.
Because I think I've done that a few times where like I've met somebody and like everything we talk about, we're just like eye to eye. And I'm like, you're fucking awesome. And so like, it'd be like if you woke up and you met somebody and they were like, hey, we've been dating for 5 years. I know everything about you. I'm perfect for you. And you're like, are you? And then you spend a couple hours with them and you're like, you're great. And then it's kind of like, okay, let's go with this. Well, that's kind of my personality, I guess.
I know. Cut to Josiah.
I need 23 hours.
And what is the meaning of life?
I need 23 minutes. I got 3 questions. Are you cute? Are you fun? Are you attractive?
Those are all questions you can answer yourself, by the way.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you have any other notes before we go to sleep and forget this ever happened?
I think we wrapped it up pretty well. Just aside from the fact that I want to comment on Adam Sandler is not a womanizer.
How? Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, by today's standards, how creepy is he in this film?
Okay, 10 being the creepiest and 1 being like genuine great guy.
Yeah, who doesn't feel entitled to anything.
I would give it like a 3. I think he wasn't awful. Like there was just a few jokes here and there where I was kind of like, ugh, you're gross.
Yeah.
But overall, I was like, you're good. And like the one thing that I did want to comment on was the fact that when I said put a pin in it earlier, is the fact that they started out with this whole like he's like a womanizer. He tells women things, like he doesn't have long relationships.
Right.
It was kind of pointless. Like there was nothing about that mattered, I think, later on in the movie. And I think, and just kind of like, because I didn't see anything specifically that made him change. And that was kind of my main thing was like, I was like, if you're going to make it that big of a thing where it's like, he will not commit, what made her different? And obviously she's different because she doesn't remember him. But like what, aside from
that's
that
interesting. Yeah.
Because it's like he met her, they hit it off. But it was like, was that all you needed? Was to just have a good connection with a woman? You've just never.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Because I'm like, if you've slept with hundreds of women,
and one man apparently
of Kevin James. If you've had that many relations, you've had a good connection with somebody. So what is it beyond the fact that she just doesn't remember you that has hooked you in?
I mean, I can tell you 3 things.
What's that? She's
funny. She's smart. And you know what? She's beautiful. But she's also beautiful, funny, and smart.
And also smart, funny, beautiful.
Right. You know, what more than those 3 things can there possibly be? Literally, what more 3 things could a woman possibly be?
I think we need to make a supercut
things
of all the shows that say that.
We haven't mentioned it on the podcast yet. That's a little inside joke between us because I swear to God, and you'll notice it too.
Have we mentioned it?
I don't know if we have. So why don't we give it to you, audience? How many times, if you hear in a film or a TV show,
at any point when a guy is telling a girl why he likes her, it is always some version of smart,
these 3 things,
funny, and beautiful.
Right. Or funny, beautiful, and smart.
In whatever order and whatever way they say it. Because sometimes they're like, oh, well, you know, you're obviously gorgeous, and we have the same sense of humor. And you know what?
Intelligent.
Really intelligent.
You're like
smart, funny, beautiful. It's the same thing as when girls go tall, dark, and handsome.
Yeah.
Like
There's only 3 things a woman can possibly be.
smart, funny, beautiful.
There you go.
There we go. All that to say,
I think I will say I wasn't as creeped out by him as I thought I'd be. The film definitely, if watching it from 2002 standard, especially if you're a woman, it is not the most woke film now. You know, it's not really by fault of its own, but I would love to see this film kind of remade.
Mm-hmm.
Not that this one was all that horrible, but it would be nice. There was a few jokes in there. I was like, "Oh, you can't make that." Like I said, they made a joke about
the
transsexual, and it wasn't even a joke. It was just like, "Haha, I'm clearly like a man, but I used to be a woman." And he was like, "I got to go tinkle." You're just like, "Okay,
awkward."
like whatever.
Or the entitled to some boob action one where you're like, "You're not entitled to anything."
I would honestly, I would like to see this movie again. You know, with a little bit more focus on like how she deals with her own life.
Yeah.
You know, and if it's going to be set in Hawaii, I mean, hell, I'd like to see it with some actual Hawaiian natives. There's some pretty Hawaiian actors out there. You know,
they're all gorgeous.
I'd see a film with like I mean, just because also I will say I do like films that take place in a different location.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's a charming area to see. Like it would have been nice. Anyway, that was my thought.
Where were they again? Oh, wahoo! All right. This has been a great episode, guys. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you are liking, commenting, and subscribing. We are on all social media platforms at Pink Popcast.
That's pop with a P.
And make sure that if you are...
Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
That's where I was going. And
right.
If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications.
Ding, ding. And if you have any thoughts on this week's episode, or if you start to see the pattern that we just mentioned about the smart, funny, beautiful,
exactly,
please be sure to leave a comment either on Instagram or on our YouTube videos, or Carrier Pigeon, Centaur, email us, whatever you want to do. I only wrote down 2 examples.
No, it's like you got to get more of those. I have a whole list of jobs that I do.
Look, man.
To open the show
Look,
with.
man.
You need to step your game up. Anyways.
We love to hear from you.
We love to hear from you. So make sure you reach out to us whatever way you can find out. Share us with friends and family. If you have any questions for us or any show suggestions.
Oh, yes.
Any like movie or TV show.
Let's do movies or episodes of TV shows. I'm not about to watch 3 seasons of something.
True. 1 episode, 3 episodes tops. But yeah, no, absolutely. We are looking forward to hearing from you.
Is there anything you want to say to the people who've listened to all 50 of our episodes?
Call me.
I just want to say thanks for listening to all 50 episodes, and we look forward to another 50 with you guys. So
I'm going to cap out at about 65.
Sure. We'll see you next week, and until then, I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we were pink! What is this? Balloons! Balloons!
He's straight, you guys.